Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at the biggest winners and losers for the Silver and Black after their first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I'll be honest, I think the only person on the planet that is happy that this team ended up tying with Seattle is that guy sitting over there, the 23-23 ball game. And I understand that there's probably a little bit more of the bad side to talk about. I am going to try to focus, though, on a little bit more of the winners than I am going to focus on the losers because I understand it is only the first preseason game. Hey, man, if you didn't know this, though, we are going to actually be live later on today. It's Friday. That means it's Friday happy hour. Even though we were at the studio until 2 a.m. last night, Chugs and I tried to get it in here as early as we possibly could to get you this video, and I hope that all of y'all end up pulling up today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Also, we're going to give away a fantasy football spot, so if you want to get in our league, make sure you pull up today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you there. So again, the Raiders ended up tying the Seattle Seahawks late last night, and in a game that I was not very confident in what I saw on the field, but I have to keep telling myself it's only the first preseason game. It's only the first preseason game, and I think that if you're a Raiders fan and you wake up this morning, I think that that's what you kind of got to look at. I also hope that Pete Carroll, John Spytek, Patrick Graham, Chip Kelly, all the coaches, they kind of get together and they look at all those players and they go, I expect more. And I expect more from these guys going forward, and I expect more from the Silver and Black. And sometimes maybe you need a little bit of a wake-up call, and if the wake-up call's got to be in the preseason, I'm all right with it. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to start on the offensive side, then I'll go to the defense. The numbers that you're going to see next to these players is essentially me ranking which guys are the biggest winners and which guys are the biggest losers. Number 5 is a winner. Number 1, though, is the biggest winner. I know Geno Smith yesterday went 1 of 3 for 15 yards. And some people that look at the box score might go, well, Mitch, why are you putting Geno up there? His throw to Tre Tucker, I love the rollout there to the right. I thought it was really clean. His throw to Dante Thornton Jr. should have been caught by Dante. And Jacoby Myers also had a drop. If I'm looking at the positives of last night, I liked what I saw out of Geno Smith, and he also came out leading in the tunnel. He's the leader of this team. He's the quarterback, number 1. Let's go to number 4. I'm going to give it to Tre Tucker. 1 target, 1 catch, 15 yards. I love that he came back to Geno on that route, and that's kind of what Geno's going to be doing this season, and he's not a mobile quarterback, but he does have the threat to run. You saw Geno think about running there for a second, but really good job there by Tre Tucker to understand where he was on the field, to then turn around, run back to the ball, give Geno a target, and it ended up being a first down for the Silver and Black. Let's go to number 3 here on our list. It's going to be running back Dylan Laube, and sometimes you got to give credit where credit is due, and I really liked what I saw from Laube yesterday. I thought he looked good in the special teams game. There was a nice run that he had for 24 yards. He was able to bounce it out to the outside. Somebody that's really competing for a roster spot this upcoming season. 5 carries, the 34 yards. They were using him a little bit on special teams as well. I still don't know if he ends up making the roster, but you have to feel encouraged, and Laube himself has to feel encouraged about his play yesterday. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be Shedrick Jackson, wide receiver. He's the one that caught the touchdown, the beautiful touchdown ball from Cam Miller. It was a 41-yarder down the field, and it was a good route by him. Led the Silver and Black yesterday with 4 catches for 76 yards and had 4 targets. I get that this is later in the game, and another player that, I'll be honest, I don't think he ends up making this roster. The Raiders have a lot better wide receiver depth than what a lot of people out there think, but at the same time, he had an amazing moment. It's an awesome opportunity, and in the NFL in the preseason, it's all about showcasing those opportunities. Jackson might not make the 53, but his performance yesterday and the confidence that he showed, I think that's going to be a practice squad guy. Let's go to number 1, though, and it's got to be Cam Miller, quarterback of the Raiders. He is giving Aidan O'Connell a run for his money, and I think that this quarterback 2 battle is something that this Silver and Black organization is going to have to honestly look at. If it was up to me, I would still keep Aidan O'Connell at quarterback 2 to then allow Cam Miller to develop a little bit more. But in a Chip Kelly offense, you need the threat to run. 6 of 7, 76 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown throw that he had to Jackson, that was a high-level throw. He had a nice little pump fake in there, and I've been seeing people going, Mitch, man, that looked like a little bit of Rich Gannon. Man, that looked a little bit like Tom Brady. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but Miller at least showed you that he understood how to run an offense, and he did a great job, getting them to the end of the game where they had an opportunity to win. Unfortunately, the field goal was blocked, but for a young player, I thought he outplayed Aidan O'Connell, and he showed poise. He showed that he started for 4 years at the FCS level. To me, the biggest winner from this first preseason game, I think it's got to be Cam Miller. But this show's about the nation. Maybe y'all think somebody's a bigger winner on offense, or maybe you think somebody's a bigger winner on defense. I'll tell you this. The guys that are at 1 and 2 on the defensive side, I think are the only other potential answers for this one. But y'all are about to get into the YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. Who was the Raiders' biggest winner in the Seahawks game? So I did want to throw in just some other honorable mentions here. Alex Bachman, he got a lot of run, 2 catches, 36 yards, 4 targets. You could tell that AOC and this team was really trying to focus on him. Ian Thomas, 2 catches, 24 yards, and his one play that he had really far down the field. He had another catch that ended up getting called back. Philip Dorsett continues to show that he's a reliable target, 3 for 36 on 4 targets there. Dylan Parham played only 4 snaps. The only starting Raiders offensive lineman yesterday that played 4 snaps, Colton Miller and Dylan Parham. I think the Raiders are a lot more confident in Parham after he put on about 17 pounds. He's now up to about 332. And then I'm going to say Dante Thornton Jr. And I kind of went back and forth on this one because he did have a drop with Geno Smith. And the ball came out a little bit early. He turned around and was right there on his chest. But then the other part of, again, if you didn't watch the game, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Thornton in the Aidan O'Connell first interception had his man beat by about 5 yards in the first 15 yards. Then he had his man beat like 8 yards in the next 20 to 25. If you have a quarterback like Geno Smith, that's a walk-in 60-yard touchdown for Dante Thornton Jr., and we hope that he breaks out the Coe-Butter touchdown celebration. Instead, Aidan throws it about 10 yards short. Dante's got to run back to the ball, and the Seattle defender could have called a fair catch to intercept it. I think if you had a good quarterback in the game, it's a walk-in touchdown for Dante Thornton Jr., but you could at least see that he was a field stretcher. Coming up next here on the show, I want to talk about some of the losers on the offensive side of the football for the Raiders. And again, I don't want to chime in too much on this. I don't want to harp on this too much, and I'm really going to try to do a better job of that this season. But at the same time, that's my job here, and I think that's why people watch this show. I'm always going to be honest. Coming in here, number 3, it's got to be Tommy Mellott, and he's really fallen down this depth chart. You could see that the Raiders don't really trust him, whether it's as a receiver standpoint. I'd say he's receiver like 8 or 9 on this depth chart right now. And then even on special teams, they had another kick returner back there with Dylan Laube, and I think it's because they don't trust him a lot. And I don't know if Tommy doesn't trust himself. That one kick that he had where it was kind of like Laube and him were looking back and forth at each other. Nobody ended up getting it. Luckily, the ball rolled in the back of the end zone. But Mellott that entire time is like drifting near the ball. He just looks like a player right now that might be in a little bit over his head. And I know they drafted him in the 6th round. But I do not know if he ends up making the squad. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be quarterback Aidan O'Connell. And I don't need to beat up AOC too much. It was a rough outing for him. 2 picks early on. The deep ball to Dante, bad pick. Also staring down Alex Bachman, bad pick. I will give the Raiders some credit because even though AOC played bad, you still want to have him be confident. You still want your backup quarterback to be confident. Came back in the second half, led a touchdown drive, but anybody that watched that game, you can't tell me that you're feeling very good about AOC. And then to me, I was trying to figure out how I try to get all these losers on offense, but to me, you got to put the whole Raiders offensive line in there. I mean, Thayer Munford, my goodness, turnstile. Caleb Rogers was really, really rough yesterday, the Raiders' 3rd rounder. Charles Grant, I thought, had some good flashes at times, and then you quickly saw how humble he got to be at the NFL level. That one was a little bit tough to watch. The Raiders played JPJ and Jordan Meredith for a long time, and I'll continuously say this. I do not understand why Jackson Powers-Johnson is not the center of this team. I know what they want to try to do with Meredith, and I know they want to try to get the 5 best guys out there on the line, but you can't tell me that JPJ doesn't deserve to be center. DJ Glaze got a lot of reps in there as well, but Parker Clements, bad. Adiz, not great. I think probably one of the most entertaining parts of watching that game last night was in the 4th quarter when Laki Tassi was lined up at right guard next to also Dalton Wagner at right tackle. Both guys that are just humongous human beings. But I think all Raider fans right now are probably going to say, yeah, the biggest loser is probably the guys on the offensive line. It was a rough day there for the guys in the trenches on the offensive side of the football. Before we get into the winners on defense against Seattle, we got Raiders jerseys on sale. Go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. Quite frankly, I can't believe they're still on sale. When I first started talking about these jerseys, I thought this deal was so good that it was only going to last for 24 hours. They're still on sale. Like, there's a Max Crosby jersey available for under $80. You're not going to find that in today's day and age. And if you need a brand new jersey, whether it's a Raiders Hall of Fame player, whether it's one of the rookies, or whether it's a jersey for your kiddos, your significant other, they got them from small all the way up to 5XL. If you need a Raiders jersey, the best deals are going on right now at that link, and that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show, chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. All right, let's get into some of the winners here on defense against Seattle, and same thing. We're going to rank them from 5, and we're going to go all the way down to number 1. Coming in at number 5 is going to be free safety Isaiah Pola-Mao, and I'm really only putting him on here because he had an interception. And again, the Seahawks were driving on that first one. Sam Darnold, not Sam Darnold. Drew Lock ended up throwing a bad pick. Pola-Mao laid out. This is going to be a team that's really going to try to predicate themselves on turning the football over. It's what Pete Carroll preaches. Though there was a lot of also other plays out there that Pola-Mao I don't think looked very good. Some missed tackles, some over pursuit, which happened a lot. And I think, honestly, finding positives for that defense, it was tough to do yesterday, especially for those starters. Coming in at number 4, I'm going to give it to Tyree Wilson. And there was a few plays that I thought Wilson did a really good job of being able to get into the backfield. He had a great tackle for loss early on in that game. But overall, you wanted to see how they were using him. 2 total tackles. They're using him at DT, defensive end. I liked what I saw from Tyree Wilson. But again, it was hard to find winners on defense. Let's go to number 3 here. It's going to be Tonka Hemingway. And he had 3 total tackles. He had a nice little pass breakdown. They're trying to use him again as a tweener, defensive end, defensive tackle. But if you were to ask me, out of all the rookies on defense, I think Tonka Hemingway was the best looking one. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be linebacker Jamal Adams. And Adams was a rocket ship last night. Jamal Adams played football the way that he looked for the New York Jets, the way that he looked for the Seattle Seahawks a few years ago. And I think the Raiders deserve a lot of credit for putting him at linebacker because he looked good. And he was able to get into the backfield. He was able to get pressure on the quarterback. He was just able to show you that he looked healthy, looked motivated. But to me, the number 1 winner on defense, and for all the Raider fans out there that were hitting that panic button on the Ja'Cory and Bennett trade, I hear you loud and clear. Thomas Booker looked like a freaking dog last night. The moment he stepped into the game, you could see the first quick step. He's pushing guys all the way back to the quarterback. His interior pressure, I don't have the PFF grade on his performance yet, but I would be shocked if there was another player that has a higher PFF grade than Thomas Booker. If there's anybody out there that thinks that Booker did not play well, because I'll admit the secondary, some serious woes there, but my biggest takeaway from that Raiders defense yesterday is we need more help on the defensive line. We need more big bodies at the defensive tackle position. And Thomas Booker, the way that he played, I think he's the second best DT behind Adam Butler. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Adam Butler. I thought Booker played better than Jonnu Laulu, who struggled. I thought he played better than Zach Carter. I thought he played better than J.J. Pegues. There's a lot of names on that list. Thomas Booker last night, to me, was the biggest winner from the Raiders on the defensive side of the football. And even though doesn't have much stats, 1 tackle, if you watch the game, you know he made an impact, and that's what your DT needs to be able to do. Let's go to some honorable mentions here. Trevin Mae, he ended up having the blocked extra point or blocked field goal there for the Raiders. Zach Carter, I liked what I saw out of him. J.J. Pegues, he got some early run in that game, and then they ended up putting him in a little bit later on. I think the reason, though, why Carter and Pegues are winners is because Laulu didn't play well, and obviously Lucky Fotu right now with a boot. I think those are 2 guys that they're going to rely on. Chris Smith, I decided to put him on this list because he was the player that played the most snaps on the defensive side of the football. So the Raiders are clearly trying to see what they have for him. And again, he's kind of the replacement for Lonnie Johnson Jr. And then Kai Blue Kelly, which when I went back and I watched it this morning, and crazy enough, I woke up early, I tried to watch some tape. When I watched the game last night, I remember Kai Blue struggling a little bit more, but I thought he did a good job of responding as that game continuously went on. Took a big hit. There was some good, there was some bad. But overall, I liked what I saw from Kai Blue Kelly in that game. Coming up next here, though, let's get into the losers on the defensive side of the football. And I really, really want to do a better job of this this upcoming season. And I want to be able to just always show love to people that show love to us here on the Raiders Report. I say it all the time. We are a family. It's so much more than a YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you to everybody that helped the Raiders Report be the #1 watch party for Raiders Seahawks last night. Over 100,000 views. We went live for just about 6 hours, which I think is a really amazing thing that we were able to do. But also at the same time, if you're a Raiders fan and you weren't here yesterday, it's all good. But I'm telling you right now, if you bleed silver and black, the #1 place that y'all need to be to if you can't actually go to the Raiders game is going to be here at the Raiders Report. We gave away $1,600. Shout out to Fabian Moreno for winning it. We gave away a Raiders jersey. We gave away a Raiders Report fantasy football raffle spot. The bottom line is this. If you want to be a part of the #1 watch party for the Las Vegas Raiders every single game day, I hope that you subscribe. I hope that you pull up because every single game day, we are going to be going live on this channel. And I just want to say again, thank you to everybody that showed up and showed out last night. Special thanks, though, to one guy in particular, my dude, Raider Ron. He was the MVP last night. He ended up banging over 6 times, and he was the first bang. It's funny, when I got home, it was like, again, 2:30 in the morning, and Alex goes, "You didn't put my super chat up before Raider Ron." And then her exact statement was, "Well, I guess if anybody deserves it, it is Raider Ron." So, Ron, you got some kudos from my wife. Everyone that showed love to my wife yesterday, again, she ended up actually super chatting. But yesterday's MVP, no other than the GOAT, Raider Ron. Other people, though, that I wanted to give some shout-outs to were some of our top fans. Jerry Danley ended up finishing #1 at XP. You see Cass Joey, the Soup Daddy, Ryan Campbell, Nabman, Venthrak, Lord Cameron Abbott, Husker Raider, Daryl, appreciate you showing up. The Night Devil, and then, again, this man, Raider flippin' Ron. A lot of shout-outs deserved, but I promise you this, every single Raiders game day, you're going to get an extra shout-out if you're in that top 10 of XP. Those are my real ones right there. All right, let's go to now the losers on the defensive side of the football. First, I'm going to go with Trey Taylor, and I just wanted to see more out of Taylor, and it's also because of the opportunity that I felt like he let slip through his hands. They played him a lot yesterday, tons and tons of snaps, probably top 5 on that defense in overall snaps played, but a lot of missed tackles, a lot of bad angles being made, and I think for the Raiders, I want Trey Taylor to make this roster. That's a personal thing. I personally want him to make the squad, and I thought he needed an opportunity to go out there and show this team that he could do it, and I think he fell a little bit flat on his face, which I hate saying. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be JT Woods, and you know, one of the reasons why the Raiders decided to move on from Jacorian Bennett was because of all the reports of Woods kind of getting some first-team reps at corner, showing some of that versatility at safety. He was bad last night, and he got some late run in the fourth quarter, maybe even a little bit in the third quarter as well. Not as many snaps as I thought he was going to get, but another player, over-pursuing, biting on play action. He looks like somebody that's hopeful to make the practice squad. The Raiders secondary I knew was going to be a concern, but I didn't realize how big of a concern it was going to be. And coming in here at number 1, again, I was going to say the starting defense. And you could say the Raiders' defensive line. I didn't think the linebackers played all that well. I expected more out of Darian Porter, Eric Stokes. Missed tackles, missed tackles, missed tackles. Failing to set the edge, failing to set the edge, failing to set the edge. Over pursuit, over pursuit, over pursuit. This team played honestly like an 8th grade high school football team that was really excited to get out there on the field and forgot everything that the coaches have been telling them and just went out there and weren't doing anything. I know that, I had a lot of Seahawks fans telling me, well, that's what Pete Carroll's teams have been the older and older he's got, an undisciplined defense. The Seahawks trotted out their second-string offense, and we basically played a lot of our starters on defense. They ran for 68 yards the first 2 drives. I know the game ended 23-23, but there's not a single person that rocks with the silver and black that has to – you're a little bit nervous about the performance you saw from that starting defense yesterday. I don't care what you say. You have to be a little bit nervous. All the guys from top to bottom, I expect more. The nation expects more. So I want you now to go down in the comments. If you want to give me one in particular name, shoot your shot. There's a lot of names that probably could make that list here for the Raiders' biggest loser in the Seahawks game. My answer is going to be the Raiders' trenches. And I think it's fair to say that the defensive line and the Raiders' offensive line are the concern. And for a team that values the trenches like John Spytek does, that is a concern. And I feel like I keep saying concern over and over again, but it is scaring me a little bit because you can have a lot of talent You can have Ashton Genty, but Ashton Genty's not going to have any running lanes if he can't block. So to me, I'm going to say the trenches is the biggest loser in this game. But I do want to end it with this statement right here because I think it's very important, and it's something that I want to do a better job of. The Raiders, they didn't play well last night, and I understand the concern of Raider Nation. I think, quite frankly, again, if you're not concerned, then you probably didn't watch the game. But I also remember when a Josh McDaniels Raiders team went 4-0 in the preseason, and we were riding high hopes going into that year. I think it's the preseason. We got to get better. There's a lot to improve on, but commitment to excellence is needed to improve, and the compete mentality is needed to improve if we want to actually win football games this season in the NFL.